Greetings and welcome to this edition of
Positronic hypersonic.
Positronic hypersonic.
Positronic hypersonic.
I'm Barry P. Cook, and I'm here to talk to you about Gen V Season 2, Episode 6. It was called Cooking Lessons. And as the episode starts, Marie, Emma, Kate, Jordan, and Annabeth run through Elmira to escape and are helped not only by Sam busting through a wall to get them out and into a stolen van right at the best moment, but also by Annabeth, who at one point tells them what direction to go in, seemingly by some type of psychic capability or precognition. We then find Cypher in less than a pleased mood when he learns about this, to the point that he repeatedly punches the burnt man, whom he had been treating with some sort of physical therapy, when he got the call about their escape. The gang then ditches the stolen van, as well as Sam's cell phone, so that they can't be easily found, and hide away in a recently abandoned library building, where Marie quickly realizes that Cypher killed her sister expressly to see if she could bring her back, during a conversation with Jordan, who is concerned that Marie has now established herself as the most powerful soup in the world, and that this new development changes things. Kate finds the gang some clothes they can change into, while Sam finds them some snack food, and he and Emma then find a phone that they can't really use because Emma doesn't remember anyone's phone number, at which point she logs onto Instagram on a PC and sends out a message to her friends. Marie tells her sister that she can sense the V in her blood, and we learn that Annabeth sometimes gets visions of a future moment, but that she can't control this. She can't control when it happens, and that she also doesn't know how she got V because, in her words, her parents were killed before she could ask. For her part, Annabeth just wants to get back to her life, but Marie explains that she can't because if she goes back to that life, Cypher will know, and she and Pam will be in danger, which prompts Annabeth to lash out at Marie about now having ruined her life twice. Realizing that she probably will reach out to Polarity at some point, Cypher goes to his house to tell him that when she does, he wants to be made aware of it, but Polarity refuses, at which point Cypher explains to him that he's aware that he's been having seizures and that it likely means he doesn't have much time left to live, which is something that he says he can help him with if he's able to continue his work with Marie. At which point, Emma's friend does in fact call Polarity on everyone's behalf, only to end up speaking with him as he's controlled by Cypher, who asks where Marie is. Then, of course, it isn't long before Cypher sends Vicor to burst through the wall of the library, at which point the girls try to get Annabeth to safety and Sam fights with Vicor, while Emma tries to make herself big so that she can squash him but isn't successful. At this point, thankfully, Victoria Newman's father, Stan Edgar, shows up, with Victoria Newman's daughter, Zoe, who, if you remember from last season, has that Medusa mouth power thing, which she uses to quite gruesomely decapitate Vicor, after which everyone goes with her grandfather to get away from Cypher, and he takes them to an undiscoverable, impenetrable underground safe house. Apparently, he had found Marie and company by following Vicor, who had a tracking chip in him. Stan then explains to everyone that Marie and Homelander are the only two people who ever survived Project Odessa, which injected babies with Compound V in the blastocyst phase of development. Sam apologizes to Emma for his behavior back before the end of last season and explains that he's on new meds and feels great, as well as that he'd like to get back with her at some point, which seems to sort of make Emma uneasy. Stan reveals that Dr. Delkin's work has been recreated seemingly by Cypher, but then realizes that it's more likely that Cypher just fished the information about the doctor's work from the doctor directly when the girls reveal that Cypher is keeping an old burnt guy in a hyperbolic chamber in his house, who they and Stan then surmise may actually be the good doctor, whose body, it turns out, was never recovered. Stan also reveals that he intends to retake control of Vought and continue the aspect of the doctor's work that was aimed at being able to control soups, including Homelander. Cypher flips out and telekinetically slaps Polarity repeatedly when he learns that Marie got away, before revealing to Polarity that he plans to reduce the population of the school and, it seems, of soups in general by about 75%, leaving only the strongest ones alive, at which point Polarity uses his powers to push Cypher through a window. Marie decides she needs to leave the bunker to confront Cypher, given what she now realizes he's trying to do, and after telling Marie that she thinks Marie could help her fix her abilities, Kate, who apparently realized that Marie was leaving, follows along, and that's where the episode ended. So, I did like this episode, though I didn't think it was anything special, and I think I said the same thing about last week, but it wasn't a bad episode. There were a lot of good moments. I thought the part where Zoe shows up and Medusa face kills Vicor was really cool. And I think the Stan Edgar character came off pretty well in this episode, though I don't recall liking him on The Boys. I kind of thought he was a dick, but I don't know, maybe he's, the enemy of my enemy at this point that they can trust. It's funny because his plan and Cypher's plan are not that different. And I don't really know why the girls weren't disturbed by what he said when he said, I want to continue Dr. Godolkin's work so that I can control Soups. I mean, I think they're thinking that he's referring mostly to people that they consider to be bad guys, but at the same time, it would give him the ability to control them, assuming he harnessed it. And, all he would have to do is decide that they are bad guys and they would be victims of whatever it is he becomes able to do and not beneficiaries of it. So I don't know if they've figured that out yet. Anyway, I thought it was cool that they finally sort of realized that the burnt guy is probably Godolkin, which the audience realized a while back. I thought there were some cool, quiet moments and emotional scenes, like when Marie at one point helps her sister through a panic attack, which allows Annabeth to remember the good parts of their past, because up to now, she's really just been sort of giving Marie venom and grief for the bad parts of their past. So I thought it was cool that they balanced that out and showed that Annabeth does have still, a soft spot for her sister and positive feelings for her sister. I thought that was cool. Also, the introduction of Annabeth's precognition powers and Polarity's ability to resist Cypher were pretty cool developments and could impact, what we see before the season ends and potentially The Boys next season. Some of the stuff that I didn't like about the episode was that the escape from Elmira came off as a little too convenient. Like, suddenly, Annabeth tells them which way to go and suddenly Sam breaks in. It was a little Deus Ex Machina for that particular plot point. But the opposite would have been that they dragged it out. So I don't know. I guess, the lesser of two evils. I think mainly the problem with this episode and last episode was that they seemed to focus more on universe building outside of the series. In other words, building the overall Boys universe and sort of setting up things for season 5 of The Boys rather than serving as a strong episode for Gen V in its own right. So that was a little bit of a negative. But I think the characters are compelling. And, I really like this show. I liked it last season quite a bit. I'm liking it this season. I think it really works. Even Sam in this episode was less annoying and came off as normal. And he did say that he's on new medication, which was one of my critiques last week. I said, he sort of has this realization that he was crazy from the get-go and that it wasn't the V, but nobody said anything to him about, hey, but don't worry about it. You can get treatment. Nobody brought that up. And I was like, why would they not say that to him? Why are they not treating this kid? But apparently they are. So that's good. I mean, I wish we'd learned a little bit more about it than sort of that one throwaway line where he says, oh, I'm on new meds. But, maybe they'll get more into that before the season ends. But that's really it. Not a lot to say about this episode because, like I say, it was mediocre. So I'm going to get out of here for now, but I'll be back with another video soon. Until I return, I wish you peace and long life.